Good morning. It's time to climb. Taking on Mount Defiance today in Oregon. In the Columbia River Gorge. It's actually the tallest mountain of Columbia River Gorge. It's also considered to be the toughest hike in Oregon. That's where it got me. As soon as I seen that and heard that, I'm like, oh, I'm all about it. Let's get it done. It's cloudy right now. You could see over there with some of the fog and low clouds that it is, and I'm right along the interstate, this trailhead. So it's kind of noisy here, but it's about a 5,400 foot climb in about 7 miles. So I think it's actually about 6 miles up to the summit and then down. You go up one side of the mountain, come down the other in kind of a loop. Supposed to be really steep, like I said, toughest climb in Oregon, so gonna see how it goes. But right over there, on the other side of those trees, it was the first mountain on the beginning of this clip. That was Dog Mountain, which is, I believe, the last video that's on the channel here that I did a few days ago. So that's what it looks like from the other side. But today, this isn't the mountain, but I think it's the beginning part, and I think it climbs up there and it goes over on the other side. Elevation is a little less than 6,000. I think it's about 5,800 or so. So let's get started. So right there, I believe, is Dog Mountain. I'm not 100% sure. I've never seen it from this side. But I know when I'm up on Dog Mountain, that right over there I look down on. And you can see that. Up here, I'm going to be climbing. The trail takes you along this way for a minute. And then it cuts back and it does a loop all up around there. And on the other side of it where the mountain is, it's just kind of the, I don't know, the foothill of the mountain. I don't know which way I'm going to go yet. I'm going to decide that right at the end. But wow, this goes right along the interstate. As you can see, that was the exit there. Exit 55. But this trail goes up here, and then it cuts off to the left. And then you have a choice of going clockwise or counterclockwise in a loop. The reason I don't know yet is because I was reading some comments in All Trails, and most people go counterclockwise. And the reason is because it's just really steep. And one way is supposed to be a little better than the other. The problem with that is the fact that everybody has a different level of what they consider easier. For me, I would rather climb up steep and walk down something less steep. So I don't know yet. I'm hoping that when I get, boy, I hope you can hear me. These trucks are really loud when they're right next to you. But as you can see, it's dipping down into the forest here. But anyway, I hope that I can tell when I get there which direction I want to go. I do not mind working hard to get to the top, but coming down, I don't like it to be quite as hard on the knees. I'm not 20 anymore. Even though I'm stronger now than when I was 20, I still have 48-year-old joints. So, as you can see, it is pretty steep. I don't know if you can see that on the video or not, but that's straight up. And if that's anything like the trail, that should be a doozy. And as you can see, it's pretty windy right now. A lot of this is or a good portion of this on the way up, the way I understand it, is in forest until you get above tree line. So that should help. But I don't know. It's gonna be a great day. It's cloudy, chance of rain. Gonna be watching that. And I don't know. Let's rock this thing. So that trail closure there had nothing to do with the trail that I'm doing. That was actually a little shortcut trail around Starvation Ridge. I've never been here before. I wouldn't have done the shortcut anyway because I like to do things the harder way, push myself more. I think this total loop is about 14 miles, so it's a good amount of miles, especially based on the weather that's coming in today, trying to get this all done before any rain hits. But we'll see. I might not make it to the top because I don't want to get in the rain or a storm or anything, and it's pretty windy today, so I don't know. We'll see what happens, but it's beautiful already. Not even to the loop yet. This is just still the paved part getting you up to where the trail starts. But this is gorgeous for sure. So here's the intersection of the loop. You got Starvation Ridge Trail to the left and Mount Defiance Trail to the right. So this is left, counterclockwise. Goes up there. Just keeps climbing. About 5,000 feet in the next 5 miles. Maybe a little more than 5 miles, like close to 6. And over here is the Mount Defiance Trail. You could see the trail right there. So I would be coming down there. Obviously, that's not showing the worst of it because that's not a whole lot of steepness right there. I think I am going to go up this way, though, to counterclockwise. Seems to be the consensus with comments as far as getting you to the top the quickest without the switchbacks, and then coming down the switchbacks should be a little easier on the knees. So I'm going to try this and see what happens. I do have somewhat of a time limit today. So hopefully I can get to the top and get through the whole loop. But if not, maybe to the top and back down the same way I came up, if that's quicker. But we'll figure that out as I go. But as you can see, pretty epic views already. Again, I think that's Dog Mountain right there. Absolutely gorgeous. This is going to be an epic day. Even though it's cloudy, it's still going to be beautiful. That was a steep little spurt. I'm glad I'm not going down that because that was quite loose gravel. It would have been quite slippery going down. Oh my goodness, the views here are awesome. Oh, except for that electric pole right there. Absolutely beautiful. So went from that great view on the edge of that cliff or that outcropping to in the forest up here, and now I'm gonna kind of go through a meadow along a ridge. So very open, beautiful views of the surrounding mountains and the gorge. Nothing too extremely steep yet, but constant going up. A lot of loose rock and scree, so I want to take those steps carefully. You can see where that trail goes over there, wraps around, probably goes back up into this forest then. We'll find out. Just epic views. Wow, even on this cloudy day. Windy. This is the exposed part of the ridge. It's been mainly switchbacks up. I think going down on the other side, which I think will be over there on the other side of that, will be more straight down but into forest. So hopefully the wind won't be as bad. Hopefully I went the right direction for the easier descent. This isn't too bad at all. It's not too steep yet, but it's because it's switchbacks. So that will get a little worse here in a bit when it turns from switchbacks to straight up. But I can almost see down to where I parked in the parking lot. That's always disheartening when you have went a couple miles or whatnot, and then you see your parking lot, which is right down there, right next to the interstate. Give you this view one more time. Gets a little higher, gets a little prettier. It is just so gorgeous up here. You can imagine this on a sunny day. Of course, there's something about dark clouds laying over the mountains that just makes them look awesome. But as you can see, it goes down a little bit here. I'm sure it starts going back up immediately, but a little up and down on this ridge line. Nice little cliff right there. Don't know if there will be a walk out to it or not, but I'm kind of just wanting to get to the mountain today because it's a longer trail for sure. Obviously the switchbacks doesn't make that quicker, so we shall see what we see. But for now, it is stinking gorgeous, and I think it's going to take me back in the forest now. Look at these beautiful colors. Well, it's supposed to be up all the way, and for some reason I'm going down right now. One thing I've noticed, whether it be All Trails, Far Out, any one of these apps, the comments you see, some people bring a lot of drama to the table. It never goes down. It's straight up the whole time until you come down the other side of the mountain. It's like that rarely ever happens in any mountain. You might go up a lot, but there's always going to be a part where it levels out or goes down a little bit. Might not last long, but this is definitely longer than I thought it would. Probably a couple hundred yards so far of just zigzagging back down, which means when I get here, I am going to be climbing straight up after these switchbacks. So basically, this is just getting over Starvation Ridge, I think, and then it's going to be in the forest climbing straight up. So pretty sure that's what's happening according to the map. Look like some zigzagging switchbacks, and then it hits the green part of the map, which is usually forest, and we will see if that's what happens. But man, it's beautiful. All kinds of terrain changes. Just a gorgeous day, even with the little bit of fog and cloud cover. It's about 65 degrees right now. It's going to get up warmer than that, obviously, but with that breeze, it's quite bearable for sure. So still going down a little bit and leveling out at times. Here in the forest, getting deeper into it. Basically, like I said, it's just switchbacks over Starvation Ridge, and then it starts going straight up with no switchbacks to the summit. Believe it or not, I've only went about 1,000 feet of elevation so far. It was a really spurty section where definitely went up and then leveled for a little bit and then went up again, pretty steep, but nothing bad. It's going to get really steep, I have a feeling, though, because I think it's about 4 miles at 4,000, or over 4,000 feet, so it's going to get pretty steep. But I'm loving it. It's a beautiful day. I like these cloudy days sometimes, as long as it doesn't rain or storm on me, and as long as that wind doesn't get, as long as, that's the problem when the ground is really dry and you have the scree and rocks. It's real easy to slip on that. Whew, that part of the trail there could have used some maintenance. It's kind of caved in. So is this. But anyway, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm wearing a different backpack today. It's not in the bag. It is Hyperlight, not my normal Flash 55 that I've had for a couple years. Thousands of miles on that puppy. But I'm thinking about getting the Hyperlight. But I wanted to try it out first, so I was able to get a demo for it to use for a couple days. So that's what I'm doing here today, is checking out the Hyperlight. So far, really comfortable. I wasn't sure because the frame in it isn't as big as the Flash 55, so I didn't know if it would hug me as much. It's definitely more of a minimalist bag, which I prefer because I'm kind of minimalist with everything that I carry. Just what I need, on through hikes and regular hikes as well. So checking that out today. I'll kind of give a review of that when I'm done, but for right now, I'm loving it. The only difference right now that I'm not liking a whole lot is the fact that I don't have cup holders, so I have to put them in the pockets on the side instead of the cup holders in the front. I can always add that on, but that adds weight. But it's not that bad. I can still reach it without taking the pack off, so that's a good thing. Came to a little intersection here. Let's see what it is. So Starvation Ridge is still the direction I'm going. Mount Defiance is back 0.7, that intersection. Oh, this is the cutoff. So that's the cutoff, which is closed right now because of possible slides and so forth. So I'm going to continue on Starvation Ridge Trail here up to the summit and then come down Mount Defiance Trail once I reach the summit. All right, let's keep going. So if you're wondering if I'm on the summit with that beautiful view, nope. Basically come from down there so far. Little outcropping here. And I'm here at this pole. And this is where the trail turns up there. The switchbacks are done. Woo! That's windy. Trying to get out of this wind here. Kicking up good. So the switchbacks are done, and now comes the straight shot through the forest according to the map. So got near 4,000 more feet to go in about 4 miles to the summit, and then the descent starts. So now the game begins. Woo! Up and up and up and up. It's beautiful though, walking in this forest. Beautiful colors with the greens and a little bit of haze and fog in the trees. It's gorgeous. Getting a good workout at a decently cool temperature. Can't complain about that. About 2,500 feet of elevation so far. Not quite halfway on elevation. Came to a little bit of a flat spot here. This is pretty much all on a ridge. Some of the trail is deteriorating and a little sketchy, so those are so far really the only parts that I have to kind of go slow on, and it's only been 2 or 3 spots. A couple of the spots were in the open area with the drop off, so extra careful there. But like I said, 2,500 feet of elevation. Now I'm back to climbing again. It's some rocks in the woods, in the forest. There's pine needles, so that's always good on the trail. Gives it a little bit more traction versus the stone and scree and just sandy parts. This looks like it's a little bit damp on the soil, so that makes for some good traction. Not quite as sandy. This little part here is kind of straight up. Definitely get a little breathy, a little bit nauseous. Sometimes the elevation just kind of messes with you a little bit. It's not elevation sickness, not high enough for that, but makes it a little more tolling. I did get up super early today and drove here and started pretty early, so not a whole lot of sleep. So that always definitely makes it a little worse. Not getting out of breath, just, you know, it's constant up, except for little flat spots here and there, and a little bit of down on a couple of those times on the ridge, Starvation Ridge. But you can see, I don't know if the camera showed straight up again on the ridge here. Good little elevation spurt. Just kind of shows how far down that is, where it came from. good workout. But unfortunately, when I start getting a little nauseous and the elevation starts, weighing on me, I do slow down a bit. No rush. I mean, there is a rush today. I have places to be, things to do, but I never rush. Just try to keep a quicker pace. But if I don't make it to the top and have to turn back for my prior commitments, then that's what I have to do today. I think I could still make it to the summit and down though. It's making pretty good time here. I just need to take a little break here and there right now, catch my breath and get some breaths in and drink some agua. But I'm going to continue on climbing up here. I think there's a lake up here in a little bit, and then the summit, and then the descent. So I was just thinking, it's about time I start thinking. I think I'm going up the wrong way. Those comments, most of what I've seen said go counterclockwise. And I went left. For some reason, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. I was thinking left would be counterclockwise. Oh my goodness. Sometimes it's amazing. I know I have a brain. I know I have a good IQ. I know I'm good at rationing things and analyzing things. But sometimes I amaze myself how stupid I can be. Because guess what? Going left on a loop is going clockwise, not counterclockwise. That just hit me all of a sudden. Even though on the switchbacks in the beginning part, I was thinking, you would think the switchbacks would be the more gradual way down than the other side. Oops. I might be in for a surprise when I get to the summit and try going down that other side. It might be steep as all get out, because it does look shorter on that side after looking at the map again. So this is steep enough. I could obviously do steeper going up. I don't really want steeper than this going down. So depending on what that looks like, I might come down the same way I'm going up, because fortune made a boo-boo. And there it is, folks. That time of the video where you get to see the real thing. No editing. Just Fortune at his best, using all 2 of his brain cells. Look at this gorgeous view. A little bit covered by some trees here, where the trail kind of winds out and then back in. About 3,000 feet of elevation right now. Absolutely stunning. More beautiful views of some other mountains. These all covered with pine or evergreen. A little bit more rocky trail here going up. Right out there, I can't tell. That literally could be St. Helens or Rainier. Possibly even Mount Adams. It's just a silhouette of it, so I can't really make out the shape. But it has the flat top, and all 3 of those kind of have, St. Helens has the flattest of the tops, obviously because it blew in a volcano. But I can't tell because it's so cloudy, but it's kind of amazing that I can even see any one of those 3 from here. So that's pretty cool. I don't know if you can see it on here that much, but right there it is, out there. Pretty cool. Walking across this rock field, a lot of the rocks that you would step on, the flat ones like that, they're loose and they move. So you have to take your time or I have to take my time. I don't know why I'm saying you have to. You're watching the video. I'm the one that has to take my time. But you're along with me, so you have to take your time too, unless you want to fast forward. Oh my goodness. Shut up, Fortune. All kinds of terrain now, I'm telling you. You go from the sandy and the edge of the ridge line and the overlooks and the cliffs to in the forest. You have waterfalls, and then you have these rock fields. And I think it's going to be open for a little bit before it goes back in the forest. And then up to the summit, well, around the lake, and then up to the summit. And then it looks like, according to the map, it'll be all in the forest on the way down. So we shall see. I'm kind of hoping that it is, because especially if it's super steep, it's a little better if it's in the forest than it is like on the edge. Because when you get on the edge, on the, where it's, I can't think of the word, where everything's open, it's that real sandy, and if it's super steep, that makes it pretty slick going down. It's not wet, so wet packs it down a little bit. Rocks are always wet, but there's not much rocks except for that little rock field there, but that was kind of flat. So I'm hoping it's in the forest. If it is super steep going down, should have a little better traction with some of the pine needles and such on the ground. But excuse me, carrying on for now. About 4,000 feet of elevation, about 1,200 more to go, 1,500 somewhere in that area, and just about a mile and a half, I think, to the summit. So should be getting pretty epic here in a little bit. Definitely not at the top yet. I am warm. Funny thing is, not really that funny, it happens all the time, but it's cool out. Especially the higher I get with this breeze, it almost feels like it's 45 or 50, probably closer to 50, or at least feels like 50 with that wind. Like right now it's gentle in the forest, but it still has a wind and a breeze, which definitely cools it down. About 4,600 miles, 4,600 miles, wow. 4,600 feet of elevation climbed so far, coming close to 6 miles in. So that puts at about, another 600 or 700 more of elevation to the summit. Coming up to the lake here soon. Definitely warm. But I'm working, obviously. That's a lot of elevation. That's a pretty steep climb. It's like Dog Mountain times 2. Similar to what St. Helens has for elevation, except that's a lot more rocky and boulders. Katahdin the same way. About the same amount of elevation and about the same amount of miles. But a lot more bouldering and scrambling. This is just straight walking up a mountain. And probably steeper going down the mountain. So obviously that's going to get me sweating. Even when I was in that blizzard on the Roan Highlands at the AT this year, I had my layers on, but I didn't have them all on, and it was 10 degrees with the wind chill probably minus 20. It was a struggle to not sweat because you're climbing the whole time. 6 different summits. 29-mile day that day. But I'll have a review on this backpack at the end, but as of right now, I think this makes my back a little hotter. It doesn't quite have the ventilation that the Flash 55 does, but obviously it weighs more too, and that's one of the reasons. It has a little bit of luxury to it. But this isn't that bad. It's just making me sweat, but I'll know more when I'm going down because I won't be sweating quite as bad. But I'm getting close to the summit, actually getting close to the lake and then the summit. So getting close to party time and then descent time. Look at these trees. Totally different type of forest that I was just in. Oh, it's so cool. Love that look. You can tell a burn probably came through here at some point, but not too recently. I don't know, it might have been 10, 20 years ago. You could see some signs of it, but not much, which means obviously with all the growth, you know, it's healing itself, so to speak. So this is just a little bit of a flat spot, which I am not complaining about. Definitely get some faster miles in right now. Make up for some of that slowdown on the steep uphills, and probably make up for some time for the steep downhills that I'll have to do on the other side. Still just windy, no rain yet. Hoping that holds off and hoping I beat it out. Here's a nice lake at about 4,500 feet of elevation. Beautiful. Oh yeah. Gorgeous. Getting close to the summit, above tree line now. And you have these markers here, these cairns. See it up there. I don't know if you can see it from here, but there was one right there as well. Just to make sure on this rocky section that you're able to know where the trail is from a distance, and if you do get off of the trail, you kind of know how to get back to it. Because as you could see, sometimes the rocks of the trail and the rocks of the not trail blend together. But only about another 400 or 500 feet of elevation, and we'll be at the summit. And then I get to go down and eat some food, hopefully. I'll probably have a snack up at the summit. Unless it's too windy, then I'll come back down to the trees and eat a snack. But the real food will come when the day is done. Been a gorgeous day today, even though it's been cloudy and windy. It's nice and cool. Very pleasant hiking. Almost to the top. You know, this kind of reminds me actually of Mount Rogers in Virginia, except this is steeper and quite a bit more elevation. But just the layout of the trail, and you know, a little rocky section in trees a lot, no scrambling whatsoever. And then all of a sudden you come to where the summit is, but it's a little tiny side trail. It's actually not a side trail, it's an extension of Mount Defiance Trail, which, you know, this whole loop is made up of two trails. There's Mount Defiance Trail, and then the
oh boy, I forget the name of the other trail right now. It's what happens when you climb 5,000 feet. The brain cells go away. The couple I had left. Oh my goodness. Starvation Ridge Trail. That meets up with the Mount Defiance Trail, and then I go down on the Mount Defiance Trail, unless it's just too steep, then I'll just go back down the same trail I came up after I hit the summit. But the Mount Defiance Trail goes left to the summit, and that's where I am right now. So really close, a few hundred yards away. The fog is rolling in, about 5,200 feet in elevation up in the air right now. It's beautiful, but it's windy. See you on the top.
Standing on the summit of Mount Defiance. Almost a 6,000 foot climb today in a little over 8 miles. Oregon's toughest hike? I don't know. I'll have to let you know once I make that descent. But as you can see, it's pretty socked in with fog right now. Got these infamous towers behind me on top of Mount Defiance. No views of Mount Hood. Seen that one mountain in the distance. I mean, lots of mountains, but as far as the big volcanic ones, too socked in with wind and fog, or the wind blowing in the fog and the clouds and overcast. But nonetheless, Mount Defiance is in the bag. Had to put a base layer on at top. That wind was just so chilly. You know, up here about 5,500 feet in the air, the wind gets a little chillier. But then on this side road, I don't know why I call it a side road, basically that last mile or so up to the summit is a big rocky road that's a lot of elevation. And it comes from the trail, connects off the trail, which is right here. But I just walked down there probably 100 yards and I think I missed the trail because I've been on this road a little too long. I was barely past it. It was right here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's marked by a cairn. I didn't even notice the cairn, but now it's back in the forest and going down the Mount Defiance Trail all the way down. And slipped right there. There was one of those famous times that I rolled my ankle over a rock. Was barely even moving at that point. But see, the trail right now kind of has the pine needles in it. So you can see that. I would love it if that was all the way down, because that provides for some good traction for sure, especially if the descent is really steep. But I'm going to try going down the Mount Defiance Trail versus where I came up to make the whole loop of it. And we'll see what the steepness is. I mean, I'm used to being on some pretty steep trail, so it's not so much the steepness of the trail for me as much as it is like the slipperiness of a steep trail. So if it has a lot of rock and scree and it's just on top of what it's doing to the knees at 25% grade. I know there's a couple spots looking at the map that's like 30 and 40% grade. Again, not that big a deal in spurts, as long as it's something that I could have some traction on. So that's what I got to see what will happen. Probably here in another mile or so I'll be taking this base layer off because it will get warmer as I start descending. But keep you informed, let you know what's happening, show you any cool views I see. But for now, it's time to hustle down the mountain. So here I am in the forest, coming down, descending, and then I come across this. So far, The best view of the day from about 4,500 feet up. Absolutely gorgeous. Wow. Here's that burn section. This definitely looks a little more recent than the other side where you could tell it had burned at one point, but this is definitely within the last few years. Pretty good descent right now, but also really good traction. Actually able to do a little bit of trail jogging here. I'm sure that'll change at some point and become a little looser, but for right now it's pretty good. Alright, gonna continue going down. Beat out any possible rain this afternoon. But more importantly, go see my baby and eat some food. This ridge line right now is something else that reminds me of Virginia, the state of Virginia. From the AT this year, a lot of ridge line walking up at the top. And I'm not at the top of the mountain anymore, but it's flattened out for a little bit before it does another steep descent. And you'll see the drop-offs on both sides. It just reminds me so much of walking through the state of Virginia this year. Except a lot more pines, a lot more burn here. But it is still beautiful in every aspect. I'm still descending. This last half a mile or so has been real sandy, loose gravel, sketchy trail. So I've been going slow on that, but besides that, everything else was pretty good. This kind of stuff, right there is not too bad. There's a tree there, but a lot of it was straight down drop-offs. So I think what happens is I wrap around here and then I go down there because I see the trail right there. So that's where it looks like it goes next. But yeah, it's not bad, but it's not good either. Going too slow, but I don't like to go slow, but it's better to be safe than sorry because it's definitely sketchy. But the worst part, believe it or not, Fortune's gonna say it, is the wind. When you get out in the open areas, that wind almost pushes you forward, to the side, or backwards, depending on what you're doing and what direction you're facing. Getting close to the end though. Right down there is sea level, which is where I'm parked. So not too much longer. Nearing the end, you can see over there where it's the bare
like meadowy thing, the trail, that's where it started. Obviously below that, where the trail enters or separated, and one went this way and one went the other way. That's where I went left, and it wraps up all the way around there. Comes up here, way up there, and been coming down about 5,000 feet to right here. Going to continue going down. It's gradual, gotten more gradual, leveled out a little bit. I was trying to say gradualed out. It's leveled out some, so the sketchiness isn't there as much. Now we got some rocks and some pine needles, gives it traction. That sand, though, was horrible. Then the wind blowing about 30, 40 miles an hour at least. Gusts probably 50 or 60 at times. Oh, that's gorgeous. But on top of that, the wind was blowing because it's real sandy dirt. And it was blowing it up in my face and my eyes, so I was like choking on it, and it was blinding me. So you have that on top of everything else. It made for a slow mile or mile and a half, maybe even 2. But this is definitely a lot better, but that's still sandy right there. But for most of it, it's starting to get a little more leveled out, not as steep. So going to continue on, and I'll probably do a wrap up here at the end, kind of go over everything with the backpack, the mountain itself, and give my review. But probably be the last little clip. Until then, I appreciate everybody coming along on this epic mountain summit. Okay, I had to show one more clip because that is absolutely gorgeous. That is an artistic work right there. In the home stretch right now, in this straight line to where the two trails intersect. And then probably, I don't know, half a mile to where they intersect. Another quarter to a half a mile to the car. And the day will be done. That is freaking gorgeous. Wow. All right, back to where it all started. About 15 miles ago. Heck of a freaking hike. Heck of a freaking mountain summit. Showing about 6,000 of elevation, actually over that right now. I think it needs to connect to signal, cell signal, internet, whatever, because that might adjust, because I don't think it's quite that much. I think it was in the 5s, but I don't know. I could be wrong. I did kind of go a couple little side things, so maybe that added that much more in. It doesn't feel like it. Epic day. 3 waterfalls, a lake, a huge incline through the forest, on the ridge lines, beautiful views of the gorge and the other mountains, fog, sunshine, sketchy trail, dirt everywhere. I mean, I am covered in dirt. That's my hands, that's in my arms, my hair, my butt, my legs. I'm just saying, if you're not dirty, did you really climb a mountain? It was great though. Absolutely phenomenal. I can't say enough good things about it. Hardest hike in Oregon. I don't know. I think I've hiked a couple other things in Oregon that were a little tougher. Mainly on the eastern side of Oregon in the Blue Mountains. It's hard to say because everybody's different, you know. If this would have been sandy, sketchy type of trail on the edge with huge drop-offs and not in the forest, yeah, this would have been pretty darn tough. But physically, I live for this kind of stuff.
physically. Some people do not. They would rather have the sketchy stuff. It's really what you want. I went clockwise and it was pretty good. There was some sketchy stuff on both sides. I don't think it would have done any different going the other way. I love the way I went, and maybe someday I'll do it the other way, but you know me, once I put that mountain in the bag, don't necessarily want to go back. I just want to keep putting mountains in the bag. It was beautiful, and it was for this time and this season, but I would definitely check it out. It's definitely up there. It's a tough one. I'm not going to lie. It's tough. It's tough physically, tough mentally. Not as tough mentally as if it was big drop-offs or sketchy trail more than what it was. It was just physically demanding. It helped that it was cool today. Probably mid-70s up top. Like I said earlier, about 50 it felt like. But great time. On to the next one. But first I go see my honey and I get me some food. In the meantime, live life.